An ongoing investigation into a medical mystery has dozens of people now anxiously awaiting a phone call that will tell them whether or not they've got hepatitis C. Over the weekend, Victoria Police and health authorities stepped up their inquiries into how the life-threatening disease was spread among so many, with 41 patients identified so far. 3 more medical facilities have now been named as places where patients might have been placed at risk of contracting hepatitis C. Earlier this year, an anaesthetist was deregistered after a cluster of women treated at a Melbourne abortion clinic reported becoming infected. Kirsten Murray reports.
Police have raided the home and former workplace of a Melbourne doctor who's suspected of infecting his female patients with hepatitis C.
The women tested positive to hepatitis C after undergoing procedures with the same anaesthetist.
This is a matter of aberrant behaviour, appalling behaviour by one person, not a systemic issue.
It's an unprecedented case that won't be easy to solve. For 7 months, Victorian police have been trying to work out how dozens of women could have been infected with a deadly virus when they should have been in safe hands. On the weekend, they swooped, raiding the home and former workplace of the man police believe is responsible.
We're looking for evidence pertaining to the circumstances surrounding how this outbreak has occurred. At this stage, we're keeping an open mind. It's an ongoing investigation and there is a number of possibilities that we have to exhaust.
The fact is, 41 women treated at this clinic in suburban Melbourne now have hepatitis C, and every one of them has the same strain of the virus as this man, Dr. James Peters.
You know, you put your trust, life in a doctor's hands. I keep thinking, wow.
More than 3,000 former patients have been contacted by the health department and told they could be infected. For those who've tested positive, life will never be the same.
She phoned me and said, I've got your test results. And she said, I need to talk to you. And I said, it'd come back positive. She said yes.
This woman doesn't want to be identified. None of those who've been infected do, partly because of the stigma of hepatitis C. But that leaves each of the women to suffer alone.
My younger girls, they walk in after school and I'm going to be sitting there crying and I can't tell them why.
Authorities are still grappling with how this could have happened. Suspicions grew late last year when the health department noticed 3 patients from the clinic had reported a positive diagnosis. By January, alarm bells were ringing. Another 9 cases had emerged.
We were also then extremely concerned as to how many more are we now going to discover at this place once we start investigating it, because it was clear that we had to then mount a much more detailed investigation of patients at this clinic.
Was there ever a chance that this could have been accidental?
You can imagine there could be a patient-to-patient transmission if there is a breakdown in infection control, and that might happen once or twice. But to happen this many times over that length of period, it's just hard to imagine how this could happen by accident.
What we do know is that there has to have been a very significant breach of infection control procedures. The doctor's blood has got into the patients. As to whether someone should have picked it up, that really depends a lot on how the drugs were taken and how the blood got into the patients.
Investigating police are reviewing Dr. Peters' past. This isn't the first time his medical licence has been suspended. The anaesthetist has a history of drug abuse and was once convicted for forging pethidine prescriptions. How the registration watchdog handled his past will form a large part of Paula Shelton's class action.
I think the issue really is, well, was he fit to practice? And if he wasn't, who should have been picking this up? Who should have been supervising him? Who should have been checking that he was still on track?
Do you think the medical board's acted responsibly through all of this?
Well, it's really not for me to comment on. I mean, that's really for the board to reflect on what's happened and how they can prevent these sorts of episodes, if they can prevent these sorts of episodes in the future.
A spokeswoman from the medical board declined to comment while police were investigating. James Peters has also declined the program's invitation. Police haven't interviewed him and no criminal charges have been laid, but lawyers acting for those infected are pressing ahead with their case for compensation.
We'll be relying heavily on the doctrine of res ipsa loquitur, and what that means is the facts speak for themselves. He had this strain of hepatitis C, his patients have now got it. We have to be able to infer from that something has gone very wrong in terms of infection control, and that's why they've become infected.
The 41 women have now begun medical treatment for the life-threatening virus, but with another 300 patients from the Croydon Clinic yet to be contacted, the number infected could soon rise.
Bullet's not good enough for him, because he wouldn't suffer like we are. No, not even your worst enemy you'd wish this upon. I always thought I was a strong person, but no, this has got me. That's all his fault.